Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. And today we're doing one of our devotional deep dives here on the Baha'i Reflections channel.
It's wonderful to be back exploring these writings.
It really is. And we just want to start by saying thank you. We're genuinely, profoundly grateful that you've decided to join us today.
Absolutely. Your time, your engagement, it really does make this possible.
And a huge thank you, of course, to our existing subscribers. You are the core of this community.
Mm-hmm.
And an extra special thank you goes out to our channel members. Your support, even starting at just 99 cents for a membership, it's honestly foundational.
It really is. It helps us keep these deep dives going, plan for new things, maybe some early content, exclusive stuff down the line. It supports the whole community growing.
Exactly. It keeps the reflections flowing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Today, we are tackling a big one, a virtue that, well, it really underpins all meaningful spiritual action. We're talking about decisiveness.
Right. And maybe not decisiveness as the world often thinks about it, just being quick or forceful.
Good point. Yeah. Okay, we've got this stack of Baha'i writings in front of us, and our mission today is really to unpack what spiritual decisiveness looks like, moving beyond just speed.
It's about digging into its depth.
Yeah.
We're looking at how the sources define it, things like firmness of faith, real steadfastness in action, and importantly, the courage to act with determination when you feel that divine call.
Okay, so firmness, steadfastness, courage. It sounds much more like a state of being, a condition of the soul, rather than just, a skill you learn.
That's a great way to put it. It's an inner quality that then manifests outwardly.
So what's our goal then for this deep dive? Where are we headed?
I think the goal is clarity. We want to get really clear on what spiritual decisiveness looks like in practice. How does it show up in service? And crucially, how does your decisiveness or lack thereof affect the people around you?
Okay.
But first, we absolutely have to lay the groundwork. The sources are very clear. This kind of decisiveness, the virtuous kind, it has prerequisites. It needs to be guided.
Guided by what?
By consultation, prayer, and wisdom. Those three are key. Without them, decisiveness can easily become, arrogance, or just being rash, making impulsive choices.
Ah, okay. So it's not just the act of choosing, it's the whole process behind it, the quality, the preparation.
Exactly.
And when you have that firmness, that resolve, but it is guided by wisdom and prayer and consultation. What happens then? What's the outcome?
The outcome is transformation. It's like the engine that turns good intentions, all those things you pray about, consult about, into actual reality.
Right.
It helps break through that spiritual paralysis, the kind that comes from self-doubt or fear. It gives you this clarity, the strength, and that clarity enables you to actually do the service that's needed. Purposeful, consistent, sustained service to humanity, which is what the writings call for. It moves you from just wanting to help to actually making a difference.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
It's the bridge from inner conviction to outer action. All right, let's drill down into that foundation then, the inner core. If decisiveness means acting firmly, where does that strength, that bedrock, really come from? Because like you said, if we just try to will it ourselves, it's probably not sustainable.
Yeah, it'll likely crumble under pressure. And the writings point us immediately not towards willpower, but towards trust. Deep spiritual reliance.
Reliance, okay.
It's not something you force, like a personality trait. It grows out of this deep internal contentment.
Yeah.
And the very first passage we have here sets the stage by defining the ultimate helper.
Okay, I'll read this one. It's from Baha'u'llah's The Hidden Words. It's Arabic number 13. O son of man, be thou content with me and seek no other helper, for none but me can ever suffice thee.
Wow, that's direct.
It really is. None but me can ever suffice thee.
And that's the starting point. Spiritual decisiveness begins, or maybe it blossoms, when you reach that state of being content, satisfied, just with God. Think about why we hesitate, why we waffle back and forth.
Fear, doubt, wanting everyone to agree.
Exactly. We're looking for more guarantees, more backup plans, more approval from others, from the world. If you're constantly seeking external validation or, leaning on other sources of strength besides the divine.
You're dividing your focus.
Precisely. You introduce division into your will, and that division is the enemy of firm, decisive action.
So a lack of decisiveness might actually signal a lack of contentment, a lack of that singular focus on the one helper who suffices.
I think that's a really powerful way to frame it. If you are truly content with the helper who suffices, then suddenly the fear of failure or the fear of criticism, it starts to diminish, doesn't it?
Yeah, because the outcome isn't solely on your shoulders anymore.
Right. The whole endeavor is placed in the hands of that sufficient helper. So when that conviction truly settles in that divine aid is enough, it does suffice. It just naturally cuts away that hesitation that comes from self-doubt or that endless search for outside approval.
You stop looking over your shoulder.
You stop looking over your shoulder. You start looking forward to the task. That realization God alone suffices. That's the moment the soul is freed up to act firmly.
Okay. And this trust, you can't be half-hearted then. Passage 10 seems to take this idea of reliance even further. It talks about whole trust.
Yes, that word whole is critical. What's the difference between just, saying, I trust God, and putting your whole trust in God?
Let's read it. This is passage 10 from Baha'u'llah's Gleanings from the Writings of Baha'u'lláh, chapter 115. But, O my servants, put your whole trust in God, who hath created you, and seek ye his aid in all your affairs.
See, whole trust. Partial trust always leaves a little room for worry, for second-guessing, for what if.
The backup plan mentality.
Exactly. But whole trust demands, well, a complete letting go of the outcome, in a sense. It allows you to commit fully to the action without being paralyzed by fear of what might happen.
So if a project feels huge or the risk feels high.
Partial trust says, okay, I'll give it a shot, but I better have plan B, C, and D lined up. Whole trust, having sought divine aid, says, okay, I'm committing 100% of my energy, my focus, my being to doing what needs to be done.
It's an integrated commitment. You can't really be decisive if you're holding back, if you're only halfway in.
Impossible.
But this commitment, this firmness, it's not just for the moment of decision, is it? It has to last. It needs to be sustained. Which brings us to this incredible image the writings use the mountain.
Ah, yes, the mountain. This is where decisiveness meets steadfastness. Making a quick choice might feel decisive, but sticking with that choice, holding firm through difficulties, that's the real test.
And the image is so powerful. Unwavering as the mountains, a mountain immovable. It comes up multiple times.
It does, which tells us it's a really significant concept. It's the perfect metaphor for sustained spiritual resolve. Let's look at the two passages side by side.
Okay, first is passage 4. This is from Abdu'l-Bahá, selections from the writings of Abdu'l-Bahá, page 75. O ye beloved of the Lord, strive with all your might to make firm your steps in the path of the kingdom. Be ye unwavering as the mountains in the cause of God.
Unwavering as the mountains. And then passage 8, also from Abdu'l-Bahá, selections, page 240. O ye beloved of the Lord, it is incumbent upon you to be firm and steadfast in the cause of God, even as a mountain immovable.
A mountain immovable. Wow. Think about the contrast. Human affairs, they shift like sand. Opinions change, circumstances change, difficulties arise.
The wind blows, storms come.
Exactly. But the mountain, it just is. It stays put. It's not swayed by the weather or, the shifting landscape around it.
And that's the core insight for spiritual decisiveness. The mountain doesn't move because the river changes course or because the political climate shifts or because someone criticizes it.
Right.
It emphasizes that the initial decision to serve, to follow a principle, to act, is only truly validated by the steadfastness that follows.
So decisiveness isn't just the moment of choice. It's the ongoing state of holding that course.
Holding that course regardless of the spiritual weather, regardless of opposition. If you've made a firm choice based on consultation, prayer, wisdom, and divine principle, then the world's reactions are just wind blowing past the mountain. You remain firm.
That completely reframes it. We often think of decisiveness as being quick. But here, the real decisive act is the sustained firmness, that immovable conviction.
Rooted in that trust we talked about and fueled by love for God, as the passages imply. It's a constant renewal of that initial commitment.
That's so helpful. So practically, if you're listening and you feel discouraged or things get tough,
remember the mountain. Reconnect to that initial firm decision made with trust and consultation. Let that image be your spiritual anchor.
Okay, so we've established the inner core. Trust, contentment, steadfastness like a mountain. Now we need to look outwards. If the decision is made, if the resolve is firm, what has to follow?
Action. Deeds. The writings are incredibly clear on this. There can't be a gap between deciding and doing.
Right, that gap where good intentions go to die.
Exactly. We all know people, maybe we are those people sometimes, full of beautiful ideas and plans.
Hmm.
But the truly decisive soul closes that gap immediately. They execute. And it starts with how we present ourselves, how we adorn ourselves spiritually.
Adorn ourselves.
Yeah.
How so? Passage 7 talks about this.
Yes, let's read passage 7. It's from Bahá'u'lláh, Tablets of Baha'u'lláh, page 138. Let deeds, not words, be your adorning. Be fair in your judgment and guarded in your speech. Be unjust to no man and show all meekness to all men.
Let deeds, not words, be your adorning. That's the mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
The decisive person doesn't just talk about it, they do it, promptly. The action itself becomes their spiritual clothing, their adornment.
It replaces the adornment of just talking about intentions. And notice how it's immediately linked to other crucial virtues.
Fairness, guarded speech, justice, meekness.
Right. It's not just about acting fast, it's about acting well. The quality of the deed matters. The action itself must be adorned with these virtues. A quick decision that's unfair or unjust, that's not spiritual decisiveness.
That's just rashness again.
It's rashness, maybe even harmful. So the decisive act has to be ethically sound, reflecting the quality of the inner resolve.
Okay, so we act decisively, and the action itself needs to be virtuous. But does it need to achieve something? Does it need to be productive?
Absolutely. The writings connect decisiveness directly to yielding fruit. Otherwise, the energy, the resolve, it's sort of wasted.
Which brings us to passage 6, which is quite striking. It really challenges us.
It's one of the most direct statements about the imperative to act and produce results. It frames inaction not just as passive, but as a profound failure.
Okay, passage 6 from Baha'u'lláh, The Hidden Words, Persian number 80. O my servant, the basest of men are they that yield no fruit on earth. They are indeed accounted as naught. Wherefore, exert thyself with all thy soul and with the entire force of thine heart, that thou mayest leave behind some memory on the earth.
The basest of men are they that yield no fruit. That is incredibly strong language.
It really is. Accounted as naught.
It suggests that indecision, or the spiritual laziness that prevents action, isn't neutral. It's actively failing to use the capacities God gave us. The soul that yields no fruit is one whose potential stayed locked inside, never becoming deeds, never leaving a positive trace.
And the antidote, total exertion, with all thy soul and with the entire force of thine heart. It sounds almost strenuous.
It implies intensity, doesn't it? You can't approach significant service, the kind that leaves a lasting memory, half-heartedly. Decisiveness here means pouring your whole being into it.
Connecting back to that whole trust.
Exactly. It's that total, unreserved commitment resulting in deeds that actually benefit humanity, deeds that create a legacy, a memory on the earth that's positive and enduring, fruit that lasts.
And when someone makes that kind of commitment, that decisive leap into service, does it change them visibly?
The writings suggest it absolutely does. It creates a kind of spiritual radiance. Passage 15 talks about this. Decisive service isn't grim duty. It can manifest as joy, as light.
Ah, yes. Passage 15 from Baha'u'lláh, Gleanings from the Writings of Baha'u'lláh, page 33. Blessed is the man who, with a face beaming with light, ariseth to serve this cause.
Ariseth. That implies readiness, immediacy, no hesitation. That's decisiveness in action.
Right.
The face beaming with light, that's key. It suggests that decisive action, when it comes from that place of trust and love, generates its own positive energy. It's not drudgery, it's joyful certainty.
Think about a meeting, maybe a community project that's bogged down in arguments, indecision. The energy is heavy, right?
Oh, definitely. Draining.
But then imagine one person, fueled by this inner clarity, this joy, just decides to take the first step. Their whole demeanor can shift the energy of the room.
It absolutely can. That beaming face isn't fake. It's the outer sign of inner certainty. And that certainty is contagious. It draws people in and inspires them.
So that radiant certainty affects the immediate environment. How does consistent, decisive action, day after day, affect the wider world? How does one person's firmness actually illuminate humanity?
It comes back to consistency and becoming an example. The decisive soul doesn't just act once. They strive consistently to manifest virtues, and that consistency becomes a light for others. Passage 11 speaks to this.
Okay, passage 11 from Abdu'l-Bahá, The Promulgation of Universal Peace, page 316. Man must strive that his reality may manifest virtues and perfections, the light whereof may shine upon everyone. Therefore, he must become the cause of the illumination of the world of humanity.
Become the cause of the illumination. That's the goal. By consistently and decisively choosing virtue, being fair, being meek, being truthful, acting on principle, you become a living example. A source of light.
A source of light for people who might be lost in confusion or apathy or moral relativism. When your life shows a clear pattern of principled, decisive action, you provide a kind of moral clarity. You offer a path for others. Your deeds, born from that deep, mountain-like decisiveness, genuinely illuminate the world around you. Okay, we've got the inner core of trust, the outward expression in deeds that illuminate. But what's the stage for all this? Where does this decisiveness play out? Is it just about my personal life, my local community?
The writings push us much, much further than that. Spiritual decisiveness demands a vastly expanded worldview. A hesitant spirit often shrinks its focus to what's safe, what's comfortable, what's immediately beneficial to self.
Right.
But true spiritual decisiveness requires this incredibly broad, global perspective. It forces us to act decisively for the good of everyone.
Which brings us to passage 3, a really famous one, from Bahá'u'lláh Gleanings, chapter 117. Let your vision be world-embracing rather than confined to your own self. The earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens.
World-embracing vision. That sets the scope. If you're decisive about, say, your career, but hesitant or unwilling to act for the unity of humanity, the writings suggest there's a disconnect.
A spiritual conflict.
Yeah. Real decisiveness means having the clarity and the commitment to make choices that benefit the whole world, even if it's uncomfortable or requires sacrifice. If a choice serves you but harms that larger unity, it fails the test of world-embracing vision. It's not spiritually decisive, it's self-confined.
And holding on to that global vision, acting on it, especially when the world feels so divided, that takes courage.
Immense courage. And sometimes that courage needs to be expressed not just in quiet deeds, but in speaking out, in decisive utterance.
Ah, okay. Passage 5 touches on this. The power of speech as an action.
Yes. It elevates utterance when done right to a potent spiritual force. This is from Baha'u'lláh Gleanings, page 330. Arise for the triumph of my cause, and through the power of thine utterance, subdue the hearts of men.
Subdue the hearts of men. That sounds quite strong.
It does, but I don't think it means forcing or dominating. The context suggests the power comes from the certainty behind the words.
The conviction.
The conviction, the faith, the love that fuels the utterance. When you speak truth from that deep, unwavering, decisive place, it has a kind of magnetic quality. It subdues hearts not by imposition, but by attraction, by resonance.
So, deciding to speak truth, especially when it's unpopular or difficult, is itself a major act of spiritual decisiveness.
A profound act of service, absolutely.
Okay, so we need this broad vision, this courage to act and speak. But what happens when things get genuinely hard, when the path forward is unclear, or when setbacks happen? We talked about the mountain being immovable, but people aren't mountains. We feel dismay.
We do, and that's the crucible, isn't it? Decisiveness is tested most severely not when things are easy, but in moments of crisis, uncertainty, or loss. It's defined by the decision to keep going.
Passage 9 seems to speak directly to that feeling of dismay.
It does. This is Baha'u'lláh again, Gleanings, page 280.
Be not dismayed, O peoples of the world, when the day star of my beauty is set. Arise to further my cause and to exalt my word amongst men.
Be not dismayed. Arise. The core decision right there is refusing to give in to dismay. When trials hit, when the light seems dim, when the day star is set, when a goal feels impossible.
Like progress is stalled.
Exactly. Spiritual decisiveness is that choice to arise anyway, to continue forward. It's often not about making the first choice, but about reaffirming that choice when the spiritual tide feels like it's going out.
That persistence through the darkness.
That's the proof of the mountain-like resolve we discussed, holding firm even when you can't see the summit clearly.
And that ability to arise, to persist despite dismay, it must be fueled by courage.
Absolutely. Courage is the engine that powers decisiveness through adversity. You simply can't be timid and decisive when challenges mount.
Let's look at passage 13. From Abdu'l-Bahá, Tablets of Abdu'l-Bahá, Volume 1, page 24. Therefore must the lovers of the light of the true one be courageous, firm, and steadfast in the cause of God.
See how they're linked. Courageous, firm, steadfast. Decisive action inevitably meets resistance. Sometimes it's internal, your own doubts, fears. Sometimes it's external criticism, opposition, obstacles. Courage is that inner decision. I see the fear, I feel a resistance, but I am proceeding anyway because the decision to serve, rooted in trust and consultation, is firm. Courage becomes essential for maintaining that firmness. Okay, so we've covered a lot. Trust, deeds, vision, courage. Now, let's try to synthesize this and look at some deeper prerequisites, some nuances. How do we ensure that this decisiveness stays humble, stays informed, and doesn't just become, stubbornness?
Right. How is it different from just digging your heels in? And this is where I think the idea of creativity comes in a surprising way, linking surrender with dynamic action.
Yes, passage 2 is incredibly rich here. It uses these powerful metaphors of the earth and fire to show the actual mechanics of how inner alignment enables decisive creative action.
Okay, this is passage 2. From Baha'u'lláh, Tablets of Bahá'u'lláh, page 139. O my servants, be as resigned and submissive as the earth, that from the soil of your being there may blossom the fragrant, the holy, and multicolored hyacinths of my knowledge. Be ablaze as the fire, that ye may burn away the veils of heedlessness and reveal the mysteries of my heavenly wisdom.
Let's unpack that duality. First, the earth. Resigned and submissive as the earth. What does that evoke?
Humility, acceptance, receptivity. The earth just receives whatever comes: sun, rain, seeds.
Exactly. It signifies detachment, letting go of your own ego, your own agenda. True decisiveness doesn't come from forcing your will onto the world. It starts with submitting your will, becoming receptive like the earth. You detach from the need to control the outcome.
And that submission, paradoxically, creates fertile ground.
It creates the soil of your being, from which divine insight, the hyacinths of my knowledge, can actually blossom. Wisdom arises from surrender.
So the first decisive act might actually be one of profound surrender and detachment.
I think so. But it doesn't stop there. The passage immediately shifts gears. Be ablaze as the fire.
Right, from passive earth to active fire.
The fire represents the necessary spiritual energy, the zeal, the action component. Once that wisdom, the hyacinths, has blossomed through your submission and detachment, you can't just admire it. You have to act.
You have to be ablaze.
Ablaze with that energy to burn away the veils of heedlessness.
And heedlessness.
Yeah.
That sounds like spiritual apathy, maybe chronic indecision itself.
It's exactly that. It's knowing what's right, perhaps, but failing to act. It's spiritual inertia. So if the wisdom blossoms, earth, but you don't apply the fire to burn away the heedlessness.
The wisdom just stays theoretical. It doesn't change anything.
Correct. So decisiveness here becomes this beautiful creative act using the fiery energy of resolve, which is fueled by the wisdom gained through submission, to actually bring spiritual principles into reality.
Wow, it requires both the receptive earth and the active fire.
That balance is the hallmark of spiritually creative decisiveness. It's not just plowing ahead. It's acting decisively based on insight received through humility.
Which implies the motivation behind the action has to be pure. It can't come from ego or anxiety.
It must come from spiritual health, specifically from love. Actions driven by fear or compulsion, even if they look decisive, are often brittle, unsustainable, maybe even unkind.
So the truly decisive act needs that foundation of love. Passage 14 speaks to this.
Yes, it sets the standard for the inner garden. This is from Baha'u'lláh, The Hidden Words, Persian number 3. O friend, in the garden of thy heart plant not but the rose of love, and from the nightingale of affection and desire learn thou the secret of the heart.
Plant not but the rose of love. So the decisive person cultivates love within, first and foremost.
And acts from that place. This transforms spiritual understanding into actions that are not just effective, but also kind, gentle, compassionate. If an action feels decisive but is harsh, judgmental, or demanding,
it probably hasn't passed the rose of love test.
Exactly. It might be coming from impatience or ego or fear rather than true, spiritually grounded decisiveness. Love has to be the root.
This brings us perfectly back to where we started, the idea that spiritual decisiveness isn't impulsive. It needs guidance. It needs wisdom, prayer, and consultation.
Yes. That's the final critical piece that distinguishes firmness from stubbornness. Resolve needs to be informed. It needs to arise after seeking truth together.
And passage 12 gives us the principle for that. From Abdu'l-Bahá, Paris Talks, page 53. The shining spark of truth cometh forth only after the clash of differing opinions.
Consultation. It's the spiritual safeguard. It ensures the decision we act upon isn't just my idea, but something tested, refined, potentially transformed by collective wisdom. The clash of differing opinions done in the right spirit forges a stronger, clearer truth.
Okay, so you consult, you pray, you seek wisdom, you allow for that clash to reveal the spark of truth, and then you become decisive.
Then you act with resolve. And here's a crucial aspect of decisiveness within consultation. Sometimes the most decisive act is to wholeheartedly support the group's decision, even if it wasn't your first preference.
Ah, that's a powerful point. Letting go of your own idea and decisively backing the consensus.
That takes real spiritual maturity. Committing fully to the collective truth, forged through consultation, makes the final action united, strong, and wise. It's the opposite of impulsive, ego-driven action. It's informed, resolved decisiveness.
Wow. This has been such a rich exploration. We've really moved decisiveness from just, making up your mind quickly to seeing it as this deep spiritual virtue. So just to recap, in the Baha'i context, decisiveness seems to be about aligning your will with God's will. It means acting, yes, but acting swiftly after preparation, acting with that mountain-like steadfastness, acting with courage, and doing it all in a way that ultimately helps illuminate humanity.
It's really that bridge where inner conviction becomes outer reality. And we saw how critical the prerequisites are, that whole trust in God, the guidance of consultation and prayer, and ensuring that action is rooted in detachment, humility, and love.
Right.
When all those pieces are in place, our choices stop being just personal preferences and become potentially channels for divine energy to work in the world.
So for you listening right now, maybe take a moment to think about that bridge in your own life, that space between intention and action. Look at the area of service you're involved in or a virtue you're trying to cultivate. Is there one small, immediate decision you could make today? Something you could approach with that mountain-like certainty, born from placing your whole trust in God after seeking guidance.
Maybe start by checking the garden of the heart. Is the rose of love planted there? Then perhaps seek counsel if needed. And then act like that fire, decisively burning away any remaining heedlessness or hesitation.
That's a great takeaway. And if this deep dive resonated with you, if you found some clarity or inspiration here,
We'd be so grateful if you could help support the Baha'i Reflections channel.
yes, please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Give this deep dive a like, leave a comment. We really do read them and love hearing your thoughts. And please share this content with anyone else you think might benefit from these reflections.
It really helps spread the word.
It does. And just a reminder, as we build this community, we do have YouTube channel memberships available. It starts at just 99 cents a month.
And that support, honestly, it makes a huge difference. It helps us dedicate the time needed for these deep dives, explore new ideas, maybe get content to you earlier.
Exactly. It sustains the whole effort and helps us grow together. So thank you to everyone who considers that. And thank you again for joining us today for this exploration of decisiveness. We hope you'll join us next time for another deep dive.
Next week, we'll be looking at a virtue that's deeply connected to what we discussed today, especially that idea of the earth being receptive.
That's right. We'll be diving into detachment.
It should be fascinating. Until then, may your steps be firm, rooted in trust, and may your actions be radiant with love.
Be well, everyone, and we will talk soon.